I know that you do not agree with the diagnosis relative to climate. I've done about, 13, 14 shows on climate and weather, and I used to be a believer, I will say, in global warming until I got into the fine print and the detail. And so now I'm humbled and shaken, and I understand that there's really not a problem with it. But I was wondering if you wanted to spend a minute or two just sharing your take on it, your perspective on climate and carbon.
Well, I think that the most important thing to remember is that there is global warming that's been going on since the last ice age, 12,000 years ago. And more immediately, we've been warming since the Little Ice Age from about 1400 to about 1900. And that there has been actually about 3.5 centuries of very gradual warming at about a 0.5 degree per 100 years. That's happening. That's nature. It certainly didn't have anything to do with the Industrial Revolution. It's been going on so long. But that's a long-term trend. And within that long-term trend, you get both accelerated warming and accelerated cooling along that curve of gradually rising temperature. And to think that somehow or another dealing with carbon emissions by human beings is going to affect this massive influence that nature has on our climate is just being absolutely ridiculous. It's not going to happen. You're going to spend, if you did it, you'd spend a heck of a lot of money. You'd damage the American economy in major ways, and you'd get nothing for it, other than maybe feeling good that you're trying to do something, but it's something that is going to be totally ineffective. Now, what is causing these variations in climate, both short term and long term? The evidence, I think, as a geologist now, is very, very strong that it has to do with the way in which solar irradiance, solar radiation, affects the Earth's energy budget. And that has been demonstrated fairly well for the very long-term ice ages that have occurred throughout Earth history. And increasingly, we're finding good, strong evidence that it's affecting the short-term climate changes as well through the variations that solar magnetic fields cause in the cosmic ray, the flux of cosmic rays that hit the Earth. That affects cloud formation and therefore affects how much light is going to be reflected from the Earth's atmosphere. So it's a very, very complex system that we call the Earth's climate, far too complex for the models that they're talking about to model in any kind of effective way. And the models themselves, every time they've been asked to do a forecast, have turned out to be wrong, whether it's a backcast or a forecast. The best example of that is that the models, all the so-called global climate models, all say that the Earth's upper atmosphere, what's called the troposphere, should be warming since we've been looking at it starting in 1979. And in fact, it has remained constant in temperature, if not slightly cooled. So just in that one regard, that the climate models have been a failure. And we should not put our national economy up against those failed climate models.
What did you learn as a senator, being in the trenches as a senator for 6 years, that you're comfortable to share with us?
Oh, I learned that almost everybody who's there has one goal in mind, and that is to, until this last a couple months, has one goal in mind, and that is to get reelected. Somehow or another, the current administration has been able to persuade a large number of congressmen and senators that getting reelected is not as important as taking over the economy, the private economy of the United States of America. And that is something I have not figured out yet. But while I was there, the orientation of almost everybody was to figure out a way to stay reelected. There were a few of us, I like to say, there are a few of us that were thinking about national interests more than their own political interests. But unfortunately, not very many.
Were you disheartened?
No, I was very excited about being a senator. I learned a heck of a lot. It's like going to graduate school in political science. And for 6 years, it really was something that was very exciting to me, and I enjoyed very much. Volunteered to go back, but in the recession of 1982, the voters of New Mexico decided that they would rather have someone else.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have been talking to Dr. Harrison Schmitt, the Apollo 17 astronaut who was the last man on the moon. We've been talking about his life, his work, and his book, Return to the Moon, Exploration, Enterprise, and Energy in the Human Settlement of Space. I really enjoyed listening to you and learning from you, and hope that you'll come back and talk to us again.
Well, thank you for the invitation, and my best to your audience.
I'm honored. Thank you so much.